And we're back for the second episode of the Madden Report. I am your co-host, James Madden, joined alongside my co-host, Coach Madden. Coach, after a fun-filled opening weekend, how you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good, James. There was a lot of upsets, which we were expecting. So we'll see where we go from here. I think it's going to be another exciting Sweet 16.
I'm with you on that one. As always, the first weekend of March Madness seems to never disappoint, and we saw some great games, 4 of which we kind of picked out to talk about before we move on to the Sweet 16. So we can just dive right into that one. First, we have a round of 32 matchup. It was between top-seeded Gonzaga. They took on 9-seeded Memphis. It was a fun one. Memphis was actually up 10 points at the half. Gonzaga did climb back and win that one, 82-78. What do you think about that one?
That was a fairly good game. Close till the end, but Gonzaga just had too much guard play and too much length for Memphis to overtake them. So I thought that was a fairly good game.
Yeah, exactly. And Memphis is kind of a team that is going to give that type of team will give Gonzaga trouble this year. Memphis is a team with a ton of versatility and athleticism, and they can really play well down low. They did for the majority of the game until Drew Timme. He kind of took the game into his hands late in the second half and pretty much won that game for Gonzaga. But, Memphis' athleticism really almost reigned supreme for them. But the key factor in Gonzaga winning that one was Memphis couldn't close it down the stretch. They didn't have enough experience when Gonzaga, the majority of their team had been there before. So they had the experience of playing late in a tournament game. So Memphis really was able to come away with that one. But next up, we move over to a first-round matchup, one of the best first-round matchups we saw. It was 4-seeded Illinois versus 13-seeded Chattanooga. Chattanooga team I picked in the first round to pull off the upset. Obviously, my picks aren't doing too hot right now. But Chattanooga, a team with terrific guard play, terrific defense. Their best player, Malachi Smith, couldn't really get it going. But Illinois was able to come away in a game where they trailed for 19 minutes. They did end up coming away with a 1-point win. What do you think about that one?
Illinois was just the better team in the end. The Big Ten, I think, won that game for them. Chattanooga, gave it a good go at it, but in the end, the Big Ten won out.
Yeah, and Chattanooga really, like I said, Malachi Smith, the SoCon Player of the Year, one of the best point guards in the country all season, was unable to really find a rhythm. I think he shot 6 of 21, so one of his worst performances of the season in a game where Chattanooga really needed him, playing a Power 5 opponent like Illinois, a team that was a 4 seed for a reason. But one thing that was huge for the Mocs of Chattanooga was that Silvio De Sousa was terrific. He was able to limit Kofi Coburn's production really and kind of make sure the only way Illinois could beat them was by shooting the ball well, which they did down the stretch. They had Alfonso Plummer, who knocked down a bunch of big threes. He's been terrific this season for Illinois as well. So, their strength, their experience, and their just the fact they had more talent was able to overcome a Chattanooga team that was one of the best mid-majors in the country. And we move over to another one of our many upsets of the weekend. We got a red-hot 8-seeded North Carolina team. They took down number 1 Baylor. They were actually up 25 with 10 minutes to go. Baylor climbed all the way back, brought it to overtime, but North Carolina prevailed in that one. What do you think?
That was a very good game. North Carolina obviously put up 93 points, which they've been doing all year. They can put the ball in the hole, and Baylor just couldn't keep it together the entire time to overtake North Carolina. The conference schedule won the game for them. Is the ACC, over the Big 12 is superior. So that ACC schedule got them through.
This is a Baylor team I've been really high on. I thought they had the capability and potential to make the Final Four. It's just they've battled a ton of injuries this season, and really, as soon as they were healthy, none of the guys really found the right fit on the court together. And they were missing one of their best big men, Jonathan Chamachachua. He's out for the season with a torn ACL, so that was proved to be a big, costly loss for them. But North Carolina, they played a terrific game. R.J. Davis had 30 or so points. He was tremendous. And what really changed that game, though, for Baylor, they kind of got all the momentum with around 10 minutes left with maybe arguably North Carolina's best player, Brady Manick. He was ejected after he apparently, according to the officials, threw a malicious elbow. I'm not sure if I agree with an ejection, maybe a flagrant one, but nonetheless, North Carolina was able to get away with the win, move on to the Sweet 16, and keep dancing into the second weekend. And our last first round, it's a first round matchup. Our last matchup from the first weekend that we'll be talking about is maybe the most popular one, 15-seeded St. Peter's over number 2 Kentucky. A Kentucky team, in my bracket, I had winning it all. So my bracket, like I said, is toast. But St. Peter's, they shot the ball terrifically. They, kept it close. With about 10 minutes left, I said, this is where Kentucky kind of turns it on. This is where they pull away. But, Shaheen Holloway and the St. Peter's Peacocks, they kept it close throughout and obviously won in the second round. They're into the Sweet 16s, only the third 15 seed to make it. Back-to-back years, we see a 15 seed in the Sweet 16. But, what do you think about this one?
This is probably the biggest upset of the tournament thus far, obviously. And St. Peter just, they're one of those teams where if you let them hang around, they'll keep going and being a pest. Coach Cal has had some of these in his career, where he gets the upset. He gets upset. But I thought St. Peter's, their height and skill in the end is better than Kentucky.
And I'm with you on that one. Really, what Shaheen Holloway's done in the St. Peter's program is only his second year has been terrific. He joined the team when they were a 4-win team. They finished 4-28. Last year, finished around 500, middle of the pack in the MAC. This year, finished second in the MAC. We're able to get to the big dance, and now dancing into the Sweet 16. There's a bunch of rumors that once they're eliminated or their season's over, you never know what could happen with them. But once they're over, he's going to be moving on to Seton Hall, so we'll just have to sit tight and wait. But St. Peter's did a terrific job shooting the ball. We might have 2 rising stars with Darryl Banks and Doug Edert, 2 guys who got, I think Edert had 20, Darryl Banks had 27, if I'm not mistaken. So a team, like you said, if they hang around, they can really put the nail in the coffin. They can shoot from the perimeter real well. They are a strong physical team. Coach Holloway said in a press conference, we got kids from New York City, Queens, New Jersey, they're not afraid to go in there, put a body on someone. So a team that, especially if you're a team like Purdue, who thinks, it might be a cakewalk because Purdue is one of the best teams in the country, but St. Peter's has proven that no game against them is going to be a cakewalk. But without further ado, we'll move into the Sweet 16. Second weekend, always a blast to move into the second weekend. You have sometimes you have a couple Cinderella stories. You have top seeds like Gonzaga doing what everyone expected them to do. So without further ado, we're going to move into the first Sweet 16 matchup in the West Regional over in San Francisco. We got Gonzaga, who's the top seed, taking on 4-seeded Arkansas. What do you think?
I like Gonzaga in this one. Gonzaga I think their bigs, Timmy and potential number 1 pick in the big guy. They're just going to be too strong. And Mark Few is one of the better coaches now in the country. Has been for a few years. Arkansas kind of got a fairly good draw. Obviously beat Vermont in the first one, but they who gave them a tough run, and then New Mexico State again another tough run for them, but the SEC schedule got them through to where they are now. But I just think the size and the skill of Gonzaga will ultimately send them packing.
And I'm with you on this one. I have liked this Arkansas team. I'm a big fan of Eric Musselman as a coach. But like you said, Gonzaga is a far better team when it comes to skill, when it comes to experience. You name it, really. Up and down their roster, they're a better team. I think Arkansas will kind of challenge them. Arkansas is a very similar matchup to the one they had with Memphis, except the one thing with Arkansas, they do have a little bit better guard play with J.D. Notae. But I like Gonzaga in this one. I think Gonzaga's athleticism and their skill down low with Holmgren and Timmy is just going to be too much. So I'm going to go Gonzaga into the Elite Eight. And my personal favorite for a matchup, we got 2 teams who are the polar opposites, 3-seeded Texas Tech and 2-seeded Duke.
Texas Tech has surprised me here a little bit. I know they're a favorite among people I've talked to. But they got some size, they get some length, they get some skill. But we'll see. Duke, as Coach K said, they kind of came together at the end. Coach K admitted that he thought that was going to be the end. But they made a run. at the end. Maybe because of some foul trouble on Michigan State's part, but they got through it. And to beat to beat Coach Izzo, I think was pretty special for Coach K to get to Texas Tech. But they didn't have the easiest draw, and they kind of got through. I still like Duke in this one just because the kids are playing for Coach K, and they don't want to see his career end right now. Obviously, the further you get, the tougher the teams are. But I think the kids are really playing for Coach K.
And like you said, I think this is going to be a terrific game. This game might come down to whoever has the ball last. But I've been a big fan of this Texas Tech team. I love the way they play. The way they play is kind of built for March. They, don't make it pretty, but what they've shown all season, they find ways to win. In March, you don't really have to make it pretty. You just need to survive in advance. But I'm going to go with a bit of an upset pick, Texas Tech. Like I said, it's probably the most intriguing matchup because of how opposite these teams are. Texas Tech is a team that, can't really score the ball at all. They'll score 55, but they'll let up 50. Duke's a team who can't defend the ball. They'll let up 85, but score 90. So it kind of just makes for an interesting matchup in the opposite of teams. So I think it's going to be a terrific game. But I'm going to go with Mark Adams' squad, who's really impressed me all season and has really surprised most of the nation and have Texas Tech into the Elite Eight. And next up, we have a team, like I said, has been red hot the past 2 or 3 weeks. North Carolina, they're an 8th seed, who took down number 1 Baylor on Saturday afternoon, and 4-seeded UCLA. What do you think?
I like North Carolina in this one. They put points up. The UCLA Bruins, they struggled to score a little bit at times, and they're more of defensive. I know they made the run last year to the national title, but I think it's going to end here with North Carolina. I think just skill wise. North Carolina is above and beyond what UCLA is.
I'm with you on that one. I got North Carolina in the Elite as well. I'm not a big fan of this UCLA team. I actually thought UCLA was maybe the 3rd best team in the Pac-12, but I don't think UCLA has what it takes to take down a North Carolina team that has maybe the most confidence in the country, more confidence than anybody else. They've beaten Baylor, one of the best teams in the country, and they almost won the ACC tournament. So a team with that much skill, as long as they can have confidence, and they're going to be tough to beat. And we saw R.J. Davis. He's been on something different for North Carolina the past couple of games. He had 30 against Baylor. So if R.J. Davis can do what he's been doing and North Carolina can score the way they have been the past 2-3 weeks, I think they take care of business against UCLA. A UCLA team that, frankly, I thought was going to lose to St. Mary's. I like that St. Mary's team, but St. Mary's picked a really bad time to have the worst game of the season. So I got North Carolina in the Elite Eight. And another fun matchup, we were just talking about it earlier, 3-seeded Purdue, one of the best offensive teams in the country, against our Cinderella team, the Peacocks of St. Mary's. What do you think?
I like St. Peter's in this one as long as they can get out to a quick start. If Purdue gets out to that quick start and they go on a 10-0, 12-0, 6-0, whatever to start it, I think they'll be okay. But I think if St. Peter's comes out and competes right from the start with their size and their skill, I think they'll be okay with Purdue.
And yeah, I think this is going to be a lot closer than people think. I think a lot of people, just because of every time a 15 seed makes the Sweet 16, they kind of get blown out. But I think St. Peter's will keep it close, but I think that Purdue just will have too much. I think their big men combination between Zach Edey and Travion Williams will be too much as well. Because, if their big men can be productive for the majority of the game, it'll just open up a top 5 draft pick in Jaden Ivey, and he'll just be able to kind of do whatever he wants on the offensive end of the floor. I think, if St. Peter's can keep this game in the 60 to 70 range in points and, kind of compete throughout, I think St. Peter's is a good spot. But if it gets up close to 80, 85, maybe even 90, Purdue is just, like I said, one of the best offensive teams in the country. They can go out there and get 100 points if they need to. So I think Purdue is going to take care of business here. But I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. And we move over to the other side of the bracket, the South Regional. Over in San Antonio, we got top-seeded Arizona, a team that has really surprised a lot of people and has proved to be one of the best teams in the country, and fifth-seeded Houston. What do you think?
I'm going to go with Houston on this one. I just think their size, it will ultimately be too much for Arizona. I'm not, like I said in the past, I'm not a big Pac-10 individual. Maybe it's just because they're on late and bedtime comes fairly early for me now. But the Pac-10, I think Arizona does score a little bit more than some of the other Pac-10 groups out there. But I like Houston. I think their schedule, I was looking at it a little bit, their schedule toughened them up for the tournament, and I think they get Arizona.
And I think this is going to be a lot closer. A lot of people have viewed this Houston team as kind of overrated, but I've always been a huge fan of Houston. I love Kelvin Sampson as a coach. I think he's done a terrific job kind of turning their program around into what it once was in the 80s with Hakeem Olajuwon. But Kelvin Sampson's done a terrific job, and they have a ton of experience. I do think that Arizona takes care of business. I think their front court is the best in the country with Dalen Terry, Christian Coloco, and Umar Ballo. But the one thing that I think you need to look out for is if Kerr Kriisa his ankle is fully healed. Kerr Kriisa is arguably Arizona's best player. You could say Benedict Mathurin is. But Kerr Kriisa, he had a really bad ankle sprain in their Pac-12 championship game. He didn't play the first-round game. Second-round game against TCU, he did play. He only had 4 points. He came off the bench, but he shot 1 for 10. And I think if he is off because of his ankle injury, Houston has a very good shot. But if they have maybe 75% Kerr Kriisa, I think Arizona takes care of business. But another Cinderella team, a team that most argue shouldn't be in the tournament, a team that a lot of people said only is in the tournament because of ratings. But we got 11-seeded Michigan taking on 3-seeded Tennessee.
I like Michigan, only for the sheer fact that they have, their heritage is from the Fab Five. Back in the day, back when I was growing up, they play that similar style. They get up and down a little bit. But Villanova, I like too, just the sheer fact of I love Jay Wright. He's one of the better coaches that has ever coached this game. And, just their style and their guard play, I think this is going to be a very good game to see actually who, what kind, size versus guard play. This is a tough one. I'm going back. I like Villanova in this one. I think they get past this.
And I'm going to go with Villanova as well. One thing that is to monitor the next 24 hours, this game's tomorrow. We're filming this on Wednesday, is Devontae Jones' status. Devontae Jones, like we said in the last episode, he was out in the first round with a concussion. He came back against Tennessee, and it was a really scary injury. He came back against Tennessee and then hit his head and kind of, I don't want to make assumptions, but he got hurt, re-injured his head from a concussion, so hopefully everything's okay with him. But if he's unavailable to play tomorrow, I think Villanova is in a good spot because Villanova has the guard play that is necessary to beat a team that doesn't have their best point guard and their starting point guard. And like every Villanova team in the past, they're kind of built for March. They have the experience. They have the depth and scoring and talent. And like you said, Jay Wright is not only one of the best college basketball coaches ever, he's one of the best basketball coaches to ever coach a team at a high level like college or the NBA. But I'm going to go with Villanova. I like Jay Wright, and I like the Villanova Wildcats each and every year. And it's kind of hard to pick against Villanova, especially this early in the tournament. So I'm going to have Villanova go dancing into the Elite Eight and take on Arizona. And we move over to the Midwest Regional, which has been a fun regional. That's going to take place at the United Center over in Chicago. We got top-seeded Kansas taking on a local team, 4-seeded Providence.
I agree. This one is going to be fun. Bill Self, obviously top. There's a lot of good coaches in this tournament. But Bill Self, I think, is top 5 in that category, as well as Ed Cooley. So I think it's a fantastic coaching matchup. I like Providence just because they're tough, gritty kids, and they play in that Big East, and they kind of beat each other up. The Big 12 is kind of top heavy, and they don't necessarily get enough on the back end of it. But Providence has to play night in, night out, and I think that's going to help him with this type of game. I like Providence.
I think this is going to be a really fun one. I was kind of low on Providence. I actually had them losing in the first round, but the way they played against Richmond last time out was incredible. And this is going to be a fun matchup because Bill Self and Ed Cooley, two real close friends who have been coaching against each other even back when Ed Cooley was at Boston College. They've just two good friends, and it's always fun to see friends coach against each other because they know each other's teams and each other's game plans so well. But I'm going to go with Kansas, though I think Providence has a very good shot. The one thing that we really need to look out for is similar to what Creighton did. Creighton's on a team that shoots from the outside shot particularly well, but they were able to knock down a ton of threes. I think they shot at a 45% clip or something like that. So I think if Providence is able to knock down more outside shots than normal, because, again, Providence is also a team that doesn't rely heavily on the three ball. But if they're able to knock down shots at a consistent rate, maybe shoot 35, 40%, it'll open up the floor from the inside. That's where ultimately they want to get the ball to guys like Nate Watson, Noah Horkler. So if they can hit some threes early, then I think they're going to be put in a good position and they're going to have kind of Kansas on their heels. So I think that it's going to be tough for Providence because, like I said, a team doesn't shoot the ball well from the outside. So I'm going to go Kansas. And two double-digit seeds playing each other in the last matchup of the Midwest Regional. We got 11-seeded Iowa State taking on 10-seeded Miami. What do you think?
I like Miami in this one. Their schedule again. I know I fall back onto that a lot, but their schedule in the ACC is a grind. As opposed to Iowa State, I mean the Big Ten. They're middle of the pack. They're not in the higher end. Miami, I think, is probably got shafted a little bit with the 10 seed, and they're just better built to win in this round. I like Miami.
I'm with Miami in this one. I think this Miami team is, I wouldn't say really good, but I think they're solid. They beat Duke earlier this year, so I'm a big fan of this Miami team. I don't think Iowa State's particularly that great. They haven't even broken 60 points yet in the tournament. So I think Miami, who's proven to be one of the better teams in the ACC, and talk about experience, they're starting 3 sixth-year seniors. So I love their backcourt and Cameron McGusty and Isaiah Wong. So I'm going to go Miami in this one. I just think they're going to win based off pure depth and pure talent. And I must say, win or lose, Iowa State's coach, TJ Otzelberger, he's done a terrific job. Last year, they were 2-20. They finished 0-18 in the Big 12. He's turned this program into a team that's now in the Sweet 16, competing for something more than an NIT or so you could call it. So I'm more than impressed with what Coach Otzelberger's done in Ames, Iowa, and I think he's done a great job to really turn this program around. And so, like I said, it's been a terrific opening weekend, and hopefully we see the same results this weekend in the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. And that's going to be it for today's show. Kind of a short one, but just had to do a recap, little miniature recap of the first and second rounds, as well as a preview to the Sweet 16 and Elite 8. And without further ado, I'm your host, James Madden, joined alongside my co-host, Coach Madden. And hopefully you guys tune into our next episode. Thank you for tuning in to the second episode. Catch you next time.